Part 3 of my very rough guide to very basic PowerDirector editing. Alright, now this is probably the part that you've been looking forward to the most. It's actually opening PowerDirector and doing some editing. But before we do that, let's have a quick tour of PowerDirector. And I should say at this point, if your PowerDirector looks slightly different to mine, that's because I'm on PowerDirector 15. You may be on a later version, I think 16 or perhaps even 17. But basically all the functionality should be the same and the general layout should be the same. What we've got up here, right at the top, is your usual Windows file bar. So you've got File, Edit, View, that sort of thing. Now, in the central section here, we've got two window panes. The one on the left is your contextual editing box. Now, that sounds complicated, but all it means is that this particular window changes its operation depending on which of these icons you select on the far left here. By default, the very first one is called the media room, okay? And that is just a container which holds any of the files that you actually bring in. So any imports will end up showing here. If you press any of these buttons on the far left here, you'll notice that this box changes its look. In other words, it gives you a different set of tools to perform different tasks. That's why they call it a contextual box, because it changes its context depending on which icon you select. Now we'll go back to the default one, which is your media room. On the right of the media room is your preview area. Now, as you might expect, what that'll do is show you a preview of any of the files that you select in here. For example, if you select a movie in here, it'll show up in this box and you can run that movie, so you can just check it or preview it. Now finally, at the bottom of PowerDirector, you have this very long box here. That's your timeline track, okay? That contains all the tracks you're going to use to put your movie files in to make a movie. Now, don't be confused about tracks. I know there's a lot to begin with, and actually you can add a lot more to PowerDirector, but for the sake of this very simple tutorial, we're just going to use the first track initially. Okay, so don't worry at this point about there being so many tracks and what the different tracks do. Let's just focus on the very first track. The question you'll have now is, okay, how do I get my files into PowerDirector? Now you've probably figured this out yourself because it's fairly elementary. You can come up to File and Import Media Files. Alternatively, you can come into the media area here, right click, and again you'll have the options to import media files. And finally, because PowerDirector likes to do things several different ways, you've got a little icon below your left-hand contextual box here, which is a folder, and again, that's Import Media. Personally, I prefer just to right-click on the media room here and bring up this little menu which has Import Media Files in it. Now you'll notice you have two options here. You have Import Media Files and Import Media Folder. Now the difference between these may be obvious. Import Media Files brings in individual files. Import Media Folder brings in a whole folder. Now, if you'd followed along with my previous parts of this tutorial and you have everything organized into one central project folder, this is great because this allows you to import that whole folder in one go. You don't have to go searching about your hard drive for individual files. You can just bang in that complete folder in one go. It's a great time saver. That's if you're organized and have a centralized media folder. Now the reason you have import media files is that you may very well eventually want to import individual files. You may have corrected one of your media files, or you may want to add additional media files to your project. And in this way you can bring those individual files into your project in PowerDirector. However, and I cannot stress this enough again, and I know you'll get fed up with hearing this, please make sure if you do decide to add any additional files to your media project that you save these files in your centralized media folder, your project folder that you're going to use to make this movie. That way PowerDirector doesn't get confused and it knows exactly where all the files are kept and it knows where to look for them. Okay, having said all that, let's bring in our first file to do our very first bit of editing. In this case, I will import just an individual file because I've prepared some files specifically for this tutorial. So we'll go into these folders here and into this tutorial folder and we'll find a movie file here. Now, You'll notice as I run my cursor over this movie file, a little box will come up in Windows and it'll tell you exactly what kind of movie file it is and its size and its length. MP4 is by far one of the most popular movie file formats at the moment, but there are others. But it's more than likely that the output that you'll get from your recording software will be in MP4. Don't panic if it's not. PowerDirector allows you to import a wide variety of movie types. So we'll open this movie and it brings it straight into your media room here. Now you can tell it's a movie in here because you can see in the bottom of the file icon there's another little icon which is a film strip. And again, if you run your cursor over that, I'll give you some more information about this file, where it comes from, the type of file it is, that kind of thing. You'll also notice, if you've selected that icon, that your preview window opens up a preview of that movie file, which you can play to review this file and make sure it is the actual file that you want to be making your movie out of. Now, to edit, what you want to do, quite simply, is drag this movie file into your first track here. It doesn't particularly matter which track you use or where you place the file in this track. You can always change these things. Now, PowerDirector does have specific tracks for different operations like voiceovers and titles, but it'll not allow you to put a movie file into these particular tracks that are intended for different types of files. So don't worry, you can't do anything wrong. Just pop that movie file into the first track for sake of convenience. So here we are with our movie into our track. Now what you want to do is start editing. Now you'll probably want to do some very basic editing. You'll probably have recorded a video and you may be fine about uploading it as it is. But you may have a little bit of footage that you want to delete at the back and front of your video where you've started before your actual game footage, and you may have run on your recording a little over at the end, which is exactly what's happened with this little bit of footage that I've got. There's a section right at the start here where I'm just starting up the game that I don't want, and there's a section right at the end that I don't want either. So let's have a look at the complete bit of footage that you've just brought into your first track here. Now, as you've dragged it in, you'll notice that you can't see all of your footage. By default, PowerDirector brings your movie in at this default size, and you can see that if you look at your timeline track here, it's only shown a partial bit of your complete movie. If you've made quite a long movie, obviously. If you made a very short movie, it might very well fit in this window, but chances are it'll run off the end of the timeline here, and you'll be thinking, well, how can I see right to the end of my movie? There's a few ways you can do that. First of all, and perhaps the simplest, is to come up next to your timeline track here, and you'll see this little icon, which if you roll over it says view entire movie. Simple. You just click on that and bang, PowerDirector shrinks the movie footage to fit exactly inside your timeline track, like this. The other ways you can do it is to place your cursor over the timeline track like this, and you'll notice it turns into a little icon of a clock with a front pointing arrow and a back pointing arrow. Now if you click and hold and scrub back and forth, you can see that your movie is changing in size. What you're actually doing is zooming in and out on the timeline. You're changing the timeline. You're shrinking time if you pull to the left, and you're stretching time if you pull to the right. And this is great if you want to do precise editing. Now the final way you can do this is to come right down to the bottom left of your PowerDirector, and you'll notice this little button on a slider here, and it's got a minus and plus icon. Now if you pull it left and right, it does exactly the same as the operation we've just done with the timeline cursor. It shrinks and enlarges your movie, but does it very, very quickly. Okay, so you can bang that down so you can see all your movie, or zoom right into your movie like this so you can do very, very precise editing. Alright, so that's how you see all your movie. So the next operation is we want to identify the parts of this movie we want to get rid of, which is the very start and the very end of it. So go up to your timeline track cursor here, that's the one with the red bar that goes right down all the tracks, and scrub it, in other words drag it to the left to the very beginning of your movie, and you'll see the bits of the movie I don't want in this case, which is me starting up the game. I want to start my game video where my bus starts in the station, which is about here. Okay, now there's a bit of the game startup that I want to cut off. Bang, there it is. I don't want any of the bits before this, so I want to scrub this cursor back and forth until I find the footage sequence where my movie will start, and that's here. Okay, Now, having found the area you want to start your movie, you want to cut your movie, okay? So that you've got two bits of movie footage now, an unwanted bit and the bit you want to keep. And that's very simple to do. What you can do with your movie track selected and your timeline cursor over the bit of footage that you want to actually cut, you'll right click and you'll bring up this menu. And if you go about halfway up, you'll see this option to split. And there's a shortcut for that, which is Control T, by the way. So we'll select that and bang, you now have two bits of movie. The selected bit of movie on the right is the bit you want to keep, and this grayed out bit of movie at the start here is the bit that you want to delete. All right. Now from there, it's a very, very simple option to get rid of this little bit of movie. Again, in PowerDirector, there's several ways of doing this. You can go up to the toolbar here between your preview box and your tracks, and you'll see a little bin icon which says remove selected clip. You can click on that and it'll give you some options: remove and leave gap, remove and fill gap, or remove, fill gap and move all clips. Now at this point, let's just concentrate on these first two: remove and leave gap and remove and fill gap. And what these do is exactly what it says. Remove and leave gap, and let's just do it to see what happens, is it'll get rid of that unwanted piece of movie, but it leaves anything else in exactly the same place as it was. Okay, so what you'll have here is a gap right at the start of your movie. So it's removed the unwanted bit and left a gap. Right, let's undo that and go back up to the bin again and click on it and go to the next operation, remove and fill gap. Well, what does that do? Well, quite simply what it does is it removes the unwanted clip, and as you can see, it magically moves the rest of your film footage on that track up to fill its space. Okay? Right. So, as you can imagine, the next bit is very, very simple. All you have to do is repeat this operation, but at the back end of your movie. So you'll scrub your timeline cursor all the way to the back of your movie, right to the end here, and you'll probably see a preview of some of the movie footage that you don't want. Okay, and at the same time, you can check the length of your file. Yeah, my movie so far is 26 minutes long. So let's get rid of some more of that. We'll drag the timeline cursor back until we get to the bit where we want to actually end our movie. Now for me, it's when my boss comes into the station and I get my scorecard at the end of the mission. There we go, that's the scorecard. But there's a little bit extra on the end here when it goes to a summary. I don't want that. So I'll keep scrubbing back and forth until I get exactly the frame where I want the movie to end, which is there. And we'll do the same again. In this case, I'll use the key controls, Control T, and we'll split the movie. Now, you probably find that hard to see there because I had so little movie left at the end there that I wanted to get rid of. Now, this is a case where you might want to use the zoom function to zoom in a bit and make that a little bit bigger so you can see exactly what you're selecting now. And there we go, we can see that little slither of unwanted movie I have at the end there. And we can actually now select that, and we can now press the bin icon to get rid of that, or we can right click and select remove from the main menu, or you will see here that we've got a shortcut key here, which is obviously delete. That's what we'll do. We'll select that clip and we'll simply press delete. And there you go. You have an edited movie. Okay, so that's the end of our first little editing operation. What we'll do in the next little section is look at adding additional files to this movie to make it a little bit more interesting.